Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. I am MongoSlade. This is AEW Dynamite, which is slowly but surely becoming WCW Thunder. It's not even Nitro anymore. It's becoming WCW Thunder at this point. This show was hilarious. I could say that. It was at least a humorous show. It wasn't good, but at least I had a couple of laughs. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this show and we're going to have those laughs. But I'm going to try to make it interesting. And that means not going into any granular detail about anything. Try to give you an overview. So, for starters, let's talk about the attendance. This show took place in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Swerve, Bridgeport, Connecticut. You had an entire segment on this show that was absolutely just chomped, just eaten up by people chanting Bridgeport at Swerve and Lashley. They didn't care about what was going on in the ring. Didn't care about the promos. Didn't care about anything. Swerve went out there and mentioned Stamford. He mentioned the wrong town. And this was the most noise the people made out of the whole show. Is to remind Swerve Strickland where he is. First they were chanting, "This is Bridgeport." And then they started chanting, "Bridgeport, Bridgeport," throughout the entire segment. It didn't matter what MVP said. It didn't matter what physicality they did. All they cared about was that you recognize where you are in the world. I have never in my life seen a place care so much about this and so little about what's going on in the ring. It was unrivaled in its hilarity. Every time, and it wasn't even like the whole crowd cared. It was like a select number of really offended people were loud in this very quiet arena. Like people in the upper decks or something like that was kind of like, "Hey, what do you mean?" And it just had to make, it wasn't everybody. Well, for starters, there's less than 3,000 people in the building. And this is according to WrestleTix. Their last update was 8:22. That means the show was on the air for 20 minutes. And it says distributed tickets 2,723. 2,727, I'm sorry. And it was set up for 3,000. Now I'm being told that this arena sits over 10,000, maybe 15,000. And some even said 20. I don't know. I don't know what they got going on in Connecticut. This is, of course, not good. It's down from their previous Dynamite, which was on 2022, where they did 3,141. This is just not a good market. Maybe you shouldn't go back to this town. Because 2 years ago, the show was better, and it still only did 3,000 people. So it might just be the town, but it's also the show. The show sucks. I'll give you a good example of why the show sucks. 15 minutes of Juice Robinson. Somebody needs to be getting arrested. Somebody needs to go to jail. I have all the evidence I need to convict anybody for perpetrating Juice Robinson among the American public. It should be illegal to broadcast Juice Robinson on TV this much. 15 minutes. 15 of them things. Juice Robinson. Now you wonder why nobody's in the building. You wonder why nobody cares. You got this Muppet in the ring for 15 minutes. Jay White and Juice Robinson are defeated by Christian and Hangman Page. Nobody cares about this. Nobody cared about this at all. Hook and Kip Sabian brawled outside the ring. Nobody cared about that either. So let's move on. Mercedes Moné. We went from Camille being a bodyguard to Camille is now a maid, a butler, or something to that effect. So now she's getting orders barked at her, and Mercedes like, you about to drop my $40,000 coat. I'm like, oh my God, what are we going with this? She was a bodyguard. Now she's a chauffeur. Like, literally, these things are not the same thing. You know, your bodyguard might drive you around, but he's not going to put up your clothes for you either. I don't know. People just, it doesn't matter. She's some kind of servant now. So, Mercedes is being stressed out by Camille's incompetence. And as soon as Camille leaves to take Mercedes' coat to the locker room, here comes Chris Statlander. She was in the background. It was actually a pretty good shot. Can't complain there. As Statlander is trying to attack and in pursuit of Mercedes, Mercedes screams for Camille. Camille comes immediately and gets bumped out of the way by Chris Statlander like she's literally nothing. And then Statlander and Mercedes start to brawl, and they fall through a wall. Now you may say, man, that sounded like that was crazy. The wall was made of construction paper. It was paper mache. That's what it was. A paper mache wall. It was so bad. Oh my God. Mercedes is so small that it would have to be a construction paper mache wall in order for her to go through it so easily. Hilarity. I'm telling you, it was so bad. Just because you can do things doesn't mean that you should do things. This is one of those things you probably should think about. And the question is, has there ever been somebody who's done the bodyguard gimmick worse than Camille? The answer, to my knowledge, is no. The only thing that was worse than this was it was booked on purpose to be this way, and that was when The Miz had a stunt double. You know, that was the only thing that was worse than this, and it was booked for, you know, Damien Sandow to be sort of incompetent and to, you know, that was part of what made the character funny. It was absurd. Camille's supposed to be legitimately a big, tough, rough woman, and this thing is not working out. She's J&J security level of bodyguardism. If you were going to have somebody this bad, why would you use Camille for this? I mean, she actually has talent. And I know she's, you know, country as cornbread as soon as she opens her mouth. But you had money with this girl, and you went and ruined it. It is what it is. Let's move on. Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, they stunk up the joint. I mean, my God, this was awful. Oh, Will Ospreay, it was some shit about his nerves of his hands. He couldn't feel his son holding his hands. They agreed to have a match at Full Gear. Will Ospreay, it feels like they're just reiterating stuff that they said before. That Kyle Fletcher is saying that he's selfish and he's a hypocrite because he's betrayed people, and then Will Ospreay tried to pull a gotcha by saying, "You see, I betrayed people. I did do that. But what did you do? Are you like me or you not like me?" And I'm like, I don't care about none of this shit. I don't care about none of this. Then he called Kyle Fletcher out and then said, what was your accomplishments, bro? What did you do, bro? He didn't do shit because he was in a tag team this entire time. So then, heavens to Betsy, we finally get through all of this shit. And Will Ospreay calls himself Mr. Pay-Per-View. Said there's been 4 different world champions since he's been there, and none of them can do what he does, which is very cocky of him. So then Kyle Fletcher brings Brian Cage and Lance Archer out. So Will Ospreay has Will Hobbs and Mark Davis. Mark Davis is slovenly. All right. It's bum ass Corbin, but real life. I legitimately feel that he goes to the rescue mission to get this gear. He looks bad. He looks terrible. And I don't know why. Like, if the guy, you have to have a wardrobe department. If he doesn't have good clothes, at the very least, find something in the wardrobe to give him. He literally looks like he was out walking his dog early in the morning and somebody snatched him off the street like he was kidnapped to do this segment. Like he was going to the gym or something and they just grabbed him and said, "You're on TV, go." He looked, this guy, he dressed like he's in a soup kitchen. This is a bad dude. This is bad. Because he's not the only one that walks around like this. We're going to talk about somebody else later who walks around slovenly like this. It's embarrassing. This Mark Davis, not quite sure who he is, but he sucks. Anyway, this is where they do the interesting transitions. This was the one part of the thing about the show that I did like, outside of the titties, which of course you know I loved, was that the next 3 or 4 segments, they were all linked together. So you won't have any opportunity to change the channel or lose interest. See, Lance Archer was in a brawl in the previous segment. Roderick Strong then attacked Lance Archer during that brawl because him and Lance Archer have a match next. And this match is Falls Count Anywhere. Why? Why is it Falls Count Anywhere? Lance Archer sucks, of course. I've been saying that for a while. Roderick Strong is just not interesting. He wins with a leaping knee. There was also a choke slam of bum-ass Matt Taven onto a bunch of other people. I don't understand this. Don't care about it at all. I was drowsy. MJF was watching this with a smile. I don't know why they have a camera in MJF's house, but whatever. Roderick Strong then promised to finish MJF at Full Gear. He then got assaulted by Konosuke Takeshita. Takeshita is then attacked by Adam Cole because Adam Cole is in the next segment. He's in the next match. Adam Cole versus Konosuke Takeshita. Now, Adam Cole's body, I'm not going to talk about him being tiny. Of course he is. But whatever he's doing in terms of tanning is uneven. And he even either looks like a Trump-ish with the orange stuff, or he almost looks like Bart Simpson where he's yellowish. This is such Bush League. Moxley told me he was going to prepare people. He was going to get in on the ground floor, help to... Adam Cole is a guy who's already been at the top. Somewhere near the top. He was at the top of NXT, which was, on television and everything. So he knows what he's doing. At least he should. You're concerning with yourself with bums like Wheeler Yuta. Nobody cares about him. Who he also looks like he shops at Goodwill. But this Adam Cole, a guy who everybody is expecting to be a main event act. Adam Cole is a guy people were expecting to be a world champion. And his body tan, his spray tan is uneven. I don't understand this. This is so bad. Anyway, Adam Cole kept doing moves to Takeshita where he threw him in the air. Of course, we already know he does these moves on his knee where, the Takeshita's head is supposed to, his neck or whatever is on his knee. He kept losing control of his body. Now, what I mean by that is there's a safer way to do these moves. And I've seen Adam Cole do these moves for years. There's a safer way for him to do them. He doesn't do them safely here. It seems like he could not control Takeshita's body, which why would he be able to? Takeshita's like twice his size. That would tell you, and any other smart person, maybe you shouldn't pick him up. But he does it anyway. He does it anyway. Okay, so this is ridiculous. Takeshita rolls outside the ring, puts the Dynamite diamond ring on his pinky finger, and sucker punches Adam Cole with it. Adam Cole then is pinned 1, 2, 3. He loses the match. Now we get to a certain level of confusion, because I don't remember whether the rules of this situation was you had to win 3 matches in a row or you had to win 3 matches. If I remember correctly, it was 3 in a row. So I looked it up just to be a little bit thorough, because I made a lot of mistakes over there when doing these reviews and people have to correct me. So I'm trying to be a little bit more professional. It was 3 in a row. So you had to win 3 in a row. Adam Cole won 2 in a row and then lost to Takeshita. So this raised everybody's eyebrow because MJF is laughing at this. And everybody's like, okay, does this mean that the silly triple threat idea is out? Which is obvious. That was great. The triple threat idea not being a thing is excellent. But does this mean that Roderick Strong is going to get the match with MJF? Because that's not what people want to see. If you were going to buy a ticket to see MJF versus Adam Cole, because that's supposed to be the hot feud, and it ends up with Roderick Strong, are you happy? I mean, Roderick Strong versus MJF feels like a Dynamite match. It doesn't feel like a pay-per-view match, rather. It feels like a TV match. I would be fine with it on television. In terms of pay-per-view, I don't know. I'm not angry at this because Takeshita won and he should be getting a push. He deserves it. It was weird that he was even put in this position. But I guess if Adam Cole has to lose to somebody, it should be somebody with some potential. So Takeshita being the one is fine. So because they linked these segments up really good, Takeshita is attacked by Roderick Strong. Because Roderick Strong, I guess, wants to fight MJF. He might also want to be the champion, the international champion. So after Roderick Strong got kicked, Kyle O'Reilly ran to the ring with a chair and ran Takeshita off. And in the ring was MJF, Kyle O'Reilly, and Adam Cole for a brief moment to remind everybody of the time they used to be cool. That time is not now. I don't understand how these guys became, 2021 D-Generation X, and none of these guys are 40 yet. How are all of them so washed already, and nobody in this group is 40? And they're all washed. Strong is probably in the best shape of any of them. I mean, Kyle O'Reilly, he looks like he's got leukemia. And he's looked that way for a while. It's very unfortunate. I mean, this is all incredibly bad, I must say. So, while Takeshita is gloating, he's then attacked by Ricochet. Ricochet attacks him because Ricochet wants the title. He actually poses with it as Takeshita runs away. I did see this series of tweets that supposedly came from Ricochet. I'm going to take it as being fake because I have not been able to see the tweets singularly or anything else. So I'm going to take that the tweets are fake. But he's still down bad. He's not as sad and miserable as I thought he was, but he's still down bad. So Ricochet, again, I should state for the record, almost none of this got a reaction. Very little reaction for any of this stuff. And so that means Ricochet barely got any reaction either. There was almost nothing for any of this crap. All right. It's just stuff happening. It might as well have been the Thunderdome and people just screams. There's very little fan reaction here. And these guys are pretty much dead. They desperately need new blood. This is almost TNA level, where people just do not care. You know, it's like, I'm not even sure why the people were even in the building at this point. You know, so Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, MVP there backstage. MVP was unhappy with the way Renee conducted the interview, so he did it. And Lashley says that he's going to hurt Swerve, make an example out of him. All right, short and simple. This entire episode of Dynamite was all about not Swerve, I'm sorry, I'm mixing my people up. Moxley seizing the TBS Superstation. He was going to seize the Superstation. Seize the means of production. Which is supposed to be a joke, of course, based on the Jake Hager calling Tony Khan a communist. That's what, the seizing the means of production. He's going to seize the Superstation. That was the joke, right? So, what was this seizure? It wasn't a seizure. It was just a promo segment. That was it. They beat up JD Drake. Claudio and Yuta hit JD Drake with a chair. Now, JD Drake, what a sad, fat man. What a sad, fat, Santa Claus-esque man. He's fat, he's gray, he's everything that is Kevin Owens. He's Kevin Owens in 2 more months. Just give Kevin Owens just a couple of more months. He's going to turn into JD Drake. Fat, pale, gray. And just watch how they hit this guy and he goes, oh, and he goes down slow. Like, he doesn't go even collapse like he got hit with a chair. He wanted to get comfortable. He wanted to make sure he didn't scuff his knees and elbows. Oh, wait a second. Oh, okay. All right, I'm down. What? This is the shits. Why is JD Drake on your show? You're not going to get any sympathy because you beat up this guy. Nobody cares about this guy. Nobody gives a shit. It's random. This is random. He's not like one of your young guys. He's not like an Eric Bischoff who went like gray at like 28 or something like that. This guy's like fucking 50, or in his 40s or something. You got no business, none whatsoever, to be pushing this guy or utilizing him in any meaningful way. He shouldn't even be on your roster. He should be working Memphis Championship Wrestling or something. There's 150 indie shows for this guy to go work. Why are you paying him to be here? To do what exactly? To eat all the nachos and catering? To spill barbecue sauce all over himself? Come on, man. He looks like something out of King of the Hill. So then Moxley gets the microphone. And he talks about Orange Cassidy. Says that Orange Cassidy couldn't save Wheeler Yuta, couldn't save Chuck Taylor, but he's undeterred. Says that he still walks around with his hands in his pockets. And everybody depends on him. The pressure is on. But Orange Cassidy has been staying cool. Then he mentions that he's going to make an example out of Orange Cassidy. He's going to beat him up, turn him into hamburger meat. And says that he has all the power because he has the title. I don't understand what kind of power the champion is supposed to have. We're in the Vince Russo territory. Where you start telling me about who's got the power. Okay, at least in those scenarios, you had commissioners and stuff like that. In this situation, Moxley is kind of calling the shots where he's maybe indirectly handpicking his opponents. He's trying to fire guys up. This is the point of the gimmick. I've seen a lot of people say, like, what's the point of this? Where is this going? Moxley is the kind of guy who his character is, he wants somebody to step up. I think he said this. He wants somebody to go beyond what they have been doing. Show how much passion and how much fire that you have. He wants to be the wall that some guy has to climb, the mountain, probably a better term. He's willing to sacrifice himself in order to make the young guys in this company better, to motivate them, to take away things that they care about, to take away things that they love, and force them to actually fight for it. I get it. Again, the problem is Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy is 40. He's not like a young guy. I think he might even be older than Moxley, or as old as Moxley. So Orange Cassidy comes out. The one good thing about him is that he's not gray-haired or bald, like so many other people coming out here these days. And Orange Cassidy, he brings all of these bums with him. What do they call themselves? The congratulations. These guys comes out there. He says he agrees with Moxley that he has all this power, and that the championship that Moxley has represents himself and the people in AEW and all the things that they believe in. And he said the only way to get that title is to wrestle. And he said, even though I hate wrestling as much as everybody else, I'm pretty good at it. I'm better than you. I've already beaten you. And I'm going to beat you again. And then he says that he's going to take out a pawn that's going to allow him to get to the king. And that pawn is Wheeler Yuta. And Yuta is there like, I'm no pawn. His face is like 90% beard, which is probably good for him, if we're being honest. But he is also slovenly dressed. I mean, it's just this looks like a pickup game. It doesn't look like professionals doing professional shit. It looks like if you were playing a pickup game of basketball and you just, started hooping in whatever you was wearing when you showed up. You just took your wallet out of your pocket, put your keys on the bench or something like that. And you just going into the game and whatever we was wearing, that's what you was wearing. That's what this is. It's like they're doing a dress rehearsal and it's come as you are. I'm surprised there's not lint balls in people's hair at this point. I'm surprised these people washed their faces before they came on television. I don't see why you would need to. You can't even tell sometimes. So Moxley says that he's going to tell Orange Cassidy the same thing he's going to tell anybody. Abandon all hope. And I said, man, I abandoned hope a long time ago. I got no hope for this show. This show is the dregs. My God. This was so bad. So they do another generic brawl with Moxley's guys. And then you had Darby Allin jump off the balcony onto everybody. And the brawl continues after he jumped off the balcony. Now, there's some pep in the step of Moxley and his crew as they try to get out of there. They run back to the Dodge Ram that they all climbed out of. And I got to give them credit. This was pretty good. Darby Allin jumped into the back of the pickup truck. Now, they were leaving Wheeler Yuta, by the way. They were going to leave him behind. They didn't care about him. So this is like week 2 or 3 of them treating Wheeler Yuta like trash. That's a subtext for all of you people who like storytelling. This is a little thing that you're supposed to keep abreast of. Is that Wheeler Yuta is, while he's on their side, they don't really care about him. Okay? He doesn't really matter. This is why when Orange Cassidy called him a pawn, it kind of struck him a little hard. See, a couple of weeks ago, they were going to sacrifice him. Then they were going to leave him behind. So Darby Allin jumped in the back of the pickup truck. Claudio gets out of the pickup truck and then proceeds to run half a mile with Darby Allin got him in a headlock or something. He ran him into like a garage door and then spun him into the garage door. It just, proceeded to pick him apart. It was actually really cool. This was probably the best stuff on the show. He crashed him into that wall a couple of times and then left him laying. And then Wheeler Yuta was able to catch up and get into the truck. And then they all pulled off. So Darby Allin gets up and he's screaming at Claudio, "That's all you got? That's all you got? I'm still standing." You know, like he's Rocky or something. And I'm like, okay. Claudio and Darby is fun. That could be fun. Darby loves to take bumps. Claudio is very strong. That could be great. If they want to do that on pay-per-view or on television even, I'm okay with that. The rest of this stuff, though, basura. Jericho was standing there smiling, talking about Tomohiro Ishii washing his back in the shower. It was gay and unusual. We're going to skip that. Britt Baker and Penelope Ford had a match. Why? I don't know. Britt Baker's back again. It's whatever. She wins after she counters Penelope Ford's submission into her own submission. Then Serena Deeb came out with a flag and looked at her. And then Britt Baker looked at her. And I'm looking at both of them. I'm like, what's the story here? What's the reason for this? And they didn't even bother to make up something. They just kind of like, Serena Deeb, and she's her and Britt Baker. They're two AEW originals. I'm like, oh, who cares? Who cares, really? I mean, this is the shits. This is so bad. I mean, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm just thinking about this like it's so dumb. Then we get to the good shit. Mina Shirakawa. Mina Shirakawa comes back there, man, and she's here now. She went from coming to here. And she's talking about having a champagne celebration after Mariah May defeats Anna Jay. Why was that match not on this show? And you could have put Britt Baker and Penelope Ford on Collision, because that didn't mean anything. Whatever. Anyway, Harley Cameron snatched the champagne out of Mina Shirakawa's hand and drank it. And then threw the glass. And then put on a cartoon voice about how Mina Shirakawa is the Harley Cameron of Japan, while she is the Harley Cameron of Harley Camerons. And I'm like, what the fuck is she talking about? And this ended with Harley Cameron saying how about the two of them go tit for tit to see who is the breast. And then they both look at the camera and start shaking their titties. And I'm just like, I was mesmerized, because I was like, holy shit. This is what Dynamite's been missing. All these years of no sex appeal at all. This is what you've been missing. The lights got brighter. Air got cleaner. Everything, it all seems to be going all right. It was going great at this point. It wasn't long, about 30 seconds, but I was like, okay. Yeah. If it's going to turn into a Gooner program, I'm all for it. You know? Bring it on. 15 minutes of that rather than 15 minutes of Juice Robinson. Just have 15 minutes of Mina Shirakawa shaking her titties on TV. I guarantee you people will watch it. Harley Cameron. Look, don't dislike her. She's a cartoon character, though, which can be good, but it can also work against her. It's very Chelsea Greenish. And I think that's a positive, because at least she's a woman with a personality. And I do enjoy that she has a personality. I'm just not sure if she has a direction. And that's the issue, is that she doesn't have any fucking direction. She can come out there and do all the Bugs Bunny voices and do comedy and sing and all this kind of, she has all these talents, but she doesn't know how to direct any of that shit in ways that might be interesting. And if Moxley is supposed to be like this, I don't know, executive producer or whatever, he sees in the means of production, how about you find something for Harley Cameron and her balloon tits to do? You know, something that's interesting, that she can dump her personality into. Because she has a lot of it, you know? And I see her do stuff all the time that could be interesting. So she's more than just tits, but she's got tits too, so that helps. It makes the things a lot more interesting. I can tell you that much. Match 5, because we're not done with this yet. Oh my lord. Swerve Strickland versus Lio Rush. I was actually looking forward to this match because I like both of these guys. And then they decided they were going to do VR Troopers, Power Rangers, everything that you see between guys who are very athletic like this. Lio Rush just runs incessantly. I don't know. He has a personality. They don't let him use it. Now, at least they're having a reason for this match and it makes sense. They haven't talked that much about it on TV, but at least it makes sense, is that is Lio Rush was given a business card by the Hurt Business, and he actually wants to join. So he's out to prove himself, and part of him proving himself is him challenging Swerve to a match, and that these two have history. So, with Swerve actually helping Lio Rush. Oddly enough, Lio Rush just turned 30 years old. That's insane. Just think about that for a second. You've been watching Lio Rush on TV for years. Whether it's WWE or MLW or even his short stint in TNA, he just turned 30. Talk about wasted potential. He'd rather run in circles, I guess. That's all he really does. He starts breaking out and starts running. He's like, what is going on? So they do all the bullshit, stop-start shit where they cut each other off and they're matching each other's athleticism and all this stuff. It's dreadfully boring because we've seen these guys do this stuff and I expect better of them, to be quite honest. The match was fine. He being Swerve counters one of Lio Rush's moves into big pressure and wins the match. I forgot to mention this. I should mention it. Lio Rush, his coat. Now, I don't know. I've been talking about people dressing like bums. This show is full of bums. J.D. Drake and Wheeler Yuta and Mark Davis and Lance Archer and just various bums that have been walking in. It's like a soup kitchen. How is this company run by a billionaire and everybody in it looks like a latchkey kid? I don't understand it. But then you got Lio Rush. He doesn't look fancy, but he just looks weird. Like he was wearing Bowser's shell. Like the coat with the big pokes in it. I'm like, that's unique. I'm not sure if I like it. Not sure if I don't like it. But at least it's different. I can't say that it's bummy. I could say that this might be something that you might see Kanye West wear. So that might be interesting. And I know that he thinks he's a rapper. I guess that fits his gimmick. So I want to give somebody some credit for putting some thought into their wardrobe on this show. I also liked the red coat from Swerve. I thought it was great. After the match, Swerve calls out Lashley, saying that everybody is trying to use him to prove a point, make a name off his name, which is bizarre because Shelton Benjamin is a bigger name in wrestling than him, but he claims that Shelton Benjamin is trying to make a name off him. It's very weird. Anyway, MVP and Lashley come out. Shelton doesn't come out with them. At this point, Swerve says that they don't want to wait until Full Gear. He's going to fight him in Stanford or something like that. The crowd was stunned. Stunned that he said Stanford. And then immediately started shitting all over the segment, chanting about Bridgeport. And MVP tried to talk and get the people back into it. Then they said that they talked more about Swerve's unrealized potential. And then he got attacked by Shelton Benjamin. Him and Prince Nana got beat up by Lashley and MVP and Shelton Benjamin. And they left him laying. But the crowd didn't care. They was more offended about being called Stanford. I don't know how far Stanford is from Bridgeport, but it was almost like you were in Boston, talking about the Yankees or something like that. They were incredibly offended. And hopefully Swerve learned his lesson. He learned his geography. Get it together. I do want to say I appreciate the attempt at doing something interesting here. It seems a little rushed to me, talking about the Lashley Swerve match, because Swerve really shouldn't be taking so many losses, and Lashley certainly shouldn't be losing. But if you beat him, he's going to end up on Collision. That's just kind of how it is. This thing feels like it has to go for a while, so maybe you cheat and you put Lashley over and you build it up to Swerve winning maybe 2 in a row over Lashley or something, but you give it more time. So that's what I would do, I guess. But this is supposed to be one of the top angles. The Hurt Syndicate, again, fairly new. all of these guys are tremendous, very talented men, respected. There's nothing to be lost here. Oh yeah, I think MVP is going to be doing Bloodsport. That ought to be interesting. I don't understand why Shelton doesn't do it. He'd probably be good in Bloodsport, actually. Jamie Hayter says she's back to right some wrongs, and then she got cut off by a Julia Hart vignette. They've been doing these vignettes. I saw the other one. I didn't see it on Collision because I don't watch Collision. But I did see the video on Twitter where they're doing the two versions of Julia Hart, where it's the regular Julia and she's being haunted by, I guess, Black Julia. I guess that's what you want to call it. Where she's having these nightmares or visions or something of the House of Black Julia. Where I think the House of Black Julia killed herself, which, was crazy, crazy symbolism in today's modern world. She shot herself with an arrow as she was a cheerleader, which is basically like, a symbol of, killing who you used to be who you are now, I guess. And so she woke up with blood on her shirt, which signifies, of course, that she was shot with an arrow. So the blood on her shirt that she saw in this vignette was where she got shot with an arrow. And so she started washing her face and all this kind of stuff. And she kept seeing these visions and all this weird magic shit. And it's time for her to come home. I'm like, okay. They're trying something here with Julia Hart. And she is one of the young people that they have done a good job of building. One of the few young people up there with MJF that they have actually done something positive with. So if they want to try to stretch the limits a little bit of her character, do something different when it comes to the vignettes, I'm going to support that, because at least she doesn't suck that bad. And at least she's over with this audience. At least the audience cares about her. So do something interesting with Julia Hart. Okay. If Julia Hart, versus Jamie Hayter, a big match, is that even the match? I don't know what the history is between these two. If we being honest, maybe I'm just missing out on something, but I don't think so. I don't think so. The main event of the evening for this dreadful affair, the House of Black defeats FTR. Brody King puts Dax Harwood to sleep. This match put everybody to sleep. FTR, they're donezo, right? You could put a skewer in them. They're very well done. It's over for them. And this was another one of those matches where everybody shakes hands afterwards. And I was like, okay, this is completely pointless. It should have been the first match on the show. And you know what? These shows do not need to go to 10, 15. Almost nothing after 10 o'clock matters on these Dynamites. Why do they have overrun every single week? There's never a reason to have an overrun. There's nothing that spills over into the 10 o'clock hour that matters. It never happens. Nothing happened in the overrun that mattered. It's just the match continued. And the match ended. Malachi Black took a pile driver on the ring apron. And I was like, all right, we're done here. And call it a day. So Malachi Black, of course, cut a promo on, Instagram or something, about people trying to write him off, saying that he's retired or he's quitting or all that stuff. So in order to prove that, he got put in this match and won it. So now Tony Khan's going to force him to work. Oh, you think you're going to get out of here without taking them bumps? No. I'm going to force you to work. Nobody knows when this guy's leaving. And you know what? It's probably best if we don't know. I want it to be a surprise. It's going to be a surprise all of us. He probably don't even know when his contract leaving. His contract is up. He probably just going to walk in one day and Tony's going to say, what you doing here? We're done. You don't work here no more. But FTR, boy. They went through so much to get out of WWE. This was 3 or 4 years ago, right? They went through a lot to get out. I don't think that they would want to go back in, right? It probably would be better to get to work with CM Punk, They would get to work with Randy Orton. They wanted to work with Randy. Randy would love it. He'd be thrilled if FTR came back. Guys that can take bumps for him, he would love that. I don't have to take the bumps. They can take the bumps. Oh, absolutely. Trips, sign us up. Sign us up. Make the one with the mustache say the stuff, say the thing about his daughter. But FTR, man, there's just chewed up gum right there. They're gum. It's over. They're dead. I don't even understand how this match even. They're talking about this thing as a fatal 4-way. And the Outrunners are in it, which I'm not tripping about. I mean, they're the most over tag team in AEW. You never see them on Dynamite, but they're the most over tag team in the company. And the House of Black just got a spot, and of course, Private Party has a spot. I don't understand why it's a fatal 4-way. It's only a fatal 4-way because they don't trust that Private Party can draw on their own. And this is the fault, of course, of the Young Bucks. Of course, it's the fault of the Booker because they didn't do a good job. You know, if they had, we wouldn't have these problems. But we have these problems because you didn't put any emphasis on these talents, and now you have this issue that these guys might not be able to draw, so you're going to load their matchup. This is their first title defense, by the way. First title defense is a fatal 4-way match. That's crazy. All right, so that's Dynamite. The show is dreadful. You can't not look at it. Everything about it comes across as being second rate. From the empty building to how the talent dress, how the talent approach being on the product, on the show. Everything about it is a sawed-off disaster. Tony Khan is dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into this thing. He just went and got the rights to use November Rain. You know, the Guns N' Roses song. And I don't understand the purpose of him using November Rain because it's a song. Is that song going to make your shows better? I just saw so many people running around saying, oh, we back. He's spending money on songs again. I'm like, so what? Because ECW did it, you're going to do it? For what? It's going to be the theme song or whatever for Full Gear. So what? Is that going to sell another ticket? I don't get the point of this. Maybe it's maybe my IQ too low. Maybe that's what it is. Mongo, you just low IQ. You don't get it. This is a big brain idea. Your brain your brain too meager to understand my reality. And that's what's going on here. I got a meager intellect. I can't figure out why you would spend money on Guns N' Roses theme song because you was in ECW Arena in 1995 or some shit. Maybe it's not adding up. You know, I'm just not smart enough to figure it out. That being said, this show is... Moxley said that his AEW is only 2 months old. Brother, this thing is aging like Benjamin Button. You know, like it started old. It really is old. You really need to figure this thing out quickly. Right now, I don't really see too much positive. Claudio and Darby is fine. I actually okay with that. I like Lashley and Swerve, but it's surrounded by so much trash, and there's so many missed opportunities. I think somebody like Will Hobbs is a completely missed opportunity to be doing something interesting with him. You know, the MJF thing is complete confusion. Him and Adam Cole, everything that they've done together, all of their storylines have turned to shit. This storyline, I don't know where it's going, and I don't know why it's going there. I can only guess that they're going to try to push MJF and Adam Cole to the next pay-per-view and go ahead and give Swerve, Swerve, MJF and Strong this pay-per-view, but why? Why is Strong and MJF feuding? Well, I guess it was because he was involved with the Pro Chachos thing for a little while. But again, you should do that on TV. It doesn't seem to warrant a pay-per-view match. I'm just greatly disappointed in how shitty this show is. I've been saying that Dynamite sucks for a while, but I'm actually for like 5 years, it's never really been good. But there have been much better shows than this. This has turned every podcaster and bootlicking wrestling journal against AEW. I'm seeing a lot of negativity today over this show. A lot of these people are disappointed about the idea of Moxley seizing TBS, and it was just him coming out doing a promo. It was inventive marketing, and they are very frustrated by that. But I didn't have high expectations. My expectations are never really all that high for Dynamite, so I just looked at it like, just like when they said, Eddie Kingston addresses his enemies, which was a cool marketing gimmick. It didn't mean shit in the long run, though. This was the same thing. It was just an interesting marketing gimmick to fit into the character. It didn't mean shit. Should it have meant something? Yes, absolutely. Should it have been, and I think Raj Giri and some other people said, should it have been Moxley in the production truck, taking the tapes out, replacing the cameraman, getting rid of the announcers, all that kind of stuff? Yes. It should have been all of that. It should have been something major. It should have been some real, almost Nexus kind of stuff, where maybe he tore up the mats and tore up the Dynamite stuff off the ring apron. All that kind of stuff just changed the look of the show. That's kind of how I would have did it. I would have had those guys come out. First thing, they rip off the turnbuckles. They rip off the apron. They get rid of the announcers. They even replace the announcers. Maybe Moxley and Claudio and all these guys, they do the announcing for the night. And you make everybody wrestle in the ring with no turnbuckles, no mats on the floor, and a ripped apron. Just something that make it look different. That would have been interesting. That would have been striking, I think. That's what I thought. I thought Retribution. I thought Nexus. What I got was last week on Dynamite. As bad as Retribution was, it had the right idea. They were terrorizing people. They were terrorizing the announcers and terrorizing the commentators and terrorizing the camera guys. And that's what I expected. I think that's what everybody expected. I think when people said Moxley is going to seize TBS, they thought it's going to be like Nexus or Retribution, but better. And it wasn't. It was a promo segment. So, let me know what you think. I'll talk to you later.